Hi there, this is Terrorblade again for PokerStrategy.com. I'm making another fixed limit video for you today, and it's going to be 50 cent $1 on Party Poker. I'm going to be playing 3 short-handed tables and 1 full ring table, and going to be going over some basic things that you'll be learning as you climb the limits. You'll probably be switching to short-handed, there are more short-handed tables for fixed limit, as you'll notice if you look at any poker room really. And basically you're going to have to attune your gameplay accordingly to short-handed, because the game, even though it's just as if the first 4 players folded in a full ring game, the standard of hands you play are generally on average a bit lower, so you often find yourself in more marginal situations where you're not sure whether you're ahead or not, and I'm trying to help you deal with these decisions. On the top right hand table up here, I was dealt 8-4 offsuit, and it was an unraised pot. And then on the flop, it was 3-handed, I believe, and I had second pair. So in that situation, in 3-handed situation, I'd like to bet out to sort of filter out possibly a better hand that has outs against me, like, I don't know, Queen 10, like sort of any hand with a queen or a king in it or something like that. Just want to get rid of those possible outs against me, so that on the turn maybe it's heads up like it is here, in which case I'd continue betting as well. Here I have hit my 4, which makes it a lot easier. Obviously I'm going to bet and raise. I'm going to bet and then 3-bet if he raises me. But if it was just another blank, if it was a blank like 3, 2, maybe 7, although 7's a bit tricky because then the gut shot got there, and same with 6. But if an overcard had come, I would probably continue betting as well, and probably folding to a raise depending on the player I'm against. But in this situation, it was an easy decision due to my 2 pair, and a lot of time they'll fold on the turn as well. If they called with any 2 on the flop, which, I mean, I don't know what he could have called if on the flop that he would fold the turn there, but whatever. So yeah, some things you'll note about shorthanded are, if you're playing according to the silver chart, you'll find you're playing more hands than you would be in full ring. Mainly because there's none of those 4 earlier positions where you'd have to fold worse hands. And this is quite an interesting hand here. I stole from the small blind. Then when I bet, I was raised on the flop, and I've got no reads on this guy whatsoever. So I'm thinking, well, what would he do this with? And I was thinking, an ace would do this, 10 sort of second pair, or maybe a lower pocket pair who's just trying to filter out someone who missed the board completely. But I was tending towards thinking that, well, I think in a lot of cases the ace would have waited till the turn to raise maybe, if he's a less straightforward player than that and likes to balance his check call flop line, and then likes to balance his call flop and then raise the turn. So I was thinking that I could possibly be ahead here, and so I opted for a call down. However, I had an interesting decision on the river. If he'd bet again on the river, it's not too likely that he would 3-barrel a total bluff, or maybe even a lower pocket pair or something like that. So I was flipping up whether to fold the river if he had bet, but he didn't, and that was a bit weird. So that wasn't a very draw heavy board. So I was thinking, well, okay, did he just have complete air? And as I checked, he'd king 8, so he'd king high. So you want to be noting this guy like in the future. I don't think it was such a bad call after he raised me on the flop. I mean, there was only really one hand that beat me, and that was an ace. Or there's only one bet at 10 really, the king 10. Here I raised pre-flop, and due to the nature of full ring, sometimes when you've got the passive tables, the size of the hand's huge. I mean, this is six-handed. The reason I folded the flop despite getting sort of 11 or 12 to 1 is because I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 players behind me who could have hit this flop in some way. So I was just basically afraid of a raise behind me, which would have made my call really bad. So if I was sort of like second to last act or last to act, that would have been an easy call for my overcard outs. Keeping in mind that it is possible that I was sort of drawing nearly dead if someone already had a jack. Here again we have another stealing situation where he 3-bet me pre-flop, and I called the flop for my overcard outs and then decided to give up on the turn. I wasn't really, like, that board 7-9, 7-7, even if he is bluffing at me with an ace high or something like that, I'm still behind, and it's far less likely for him to call, for him to fold on a board where there's 3, like 7-9, 7-7. He's not going to believe that I have a 9 or a 7 probably, and he'll probably just call down with ace high, and I'll just be sinking my money into a better hand. So I think in that case it's definitely better to just give up right there. I raise second in with 5s in the top right hand table. Generally four-handed, I don't like to second barrel with under pair. But in this case the board is paired, which makes it less likely that there is a queen about. So I tend to opt for the bet in this case. And there's a raise and a call, so I just decided to call and then like reevaluate my position on the turn. Yeah, and fold the turn. Another overcard comes to my pair. He keeps on betting. I mean, I guess there's quite a possibility that he has a hand like K high or A high, but it's not great. So in this bottom right hand table, basically I was in the big blind and a raiser from earlier position raise, and we got a bunch of callers, 1, 2, 3, 4 callers. So I was getting 1 to 9, which is pretty good odds. And I basically flop 2 pair, so I'm not even gonna check raise the field. I'm just gonna bet and raise as much as I can, because it's quite likely someone else has hit this flop kind of hard as well. There are a lot of straight and flush draws out here, so I'm just hoping you get a raise so I can catch a 3-bet and basically make the draws pay as much as they can for semi-bluffing. There's only one better 2 pair, and I guess the only other possibility for a better hand would be a set or a straight, which isn't likely at all really. So I'm going to continue betting, and if I'm raised in this position I would probably tend to call down, because a raise and then a call sort of screams draw in this guy's case. Yeah, I mean, that's just weird. I don't know why he would raise and then fold. Weird. Okay, well, so yeah, if I was raised on the turn, I would have just reverted to call down mode, minimize the losses against a flush, and if he's just trying to make some sort of move, I would reap the benefits from that as well. This table here, I stole from small blind, and I've basically got second pair, which is great for me. And I'm basically just counting on the fact that this guy doesn't have, didn't have 9. And then the river, it actually doesn't change my hand at all really, because 7s full of 9s is better than 7s full of 8s or whatever. So I was just going to bet call the whole way. I mean, you can't fold to a raise or anything like that. And he just had ace high, and good thing about boards like that is that even if they don't hit ace high, hands like to call down, especially when it's double paired like that. So yeah. So, some of the main differences you'll notice for shorthand and adjustments you must make include bankroll management, which is probably the first and foremost of the changes you'll make. Poker Strategy recommends 300 big bets for full ring shorthand, full ring fixed limit, and 500 big bets for shorthanded fixed limit. So you're going to have to earn more before you can start playing. Sort of like if you're playing 50 cent $1, which is the lowest limit shorthand party poker offers, you're gonna need $500 to play shorthand. So you're gonna need to get to 300 to start playing it, and then win another 200 before you can begin playing shorthanded. And the reason for this is that it's a lot more variance bound. You get, because you're playing more hands and getting involved in more sort of approaching EV0 situations. So they might be slightly EV0, therefore you're going to experience a lot of losses. You're likely to experience like some losses as well when you're performing these moves, and thus in the short term you get a lot of up and down for your bankroll. So 500 big bets is it's moderately conservative and allows you to sort of rise the limits pretty fast while sort of minimizing the chances of going bankrupt. So I recommend you strictly follow these rules that we've given you, because they're definitely for your own good. I myself have experienced a 400 big bet downswing. So you can easily see that if I was playing on a lower bankroll and maybe I tilted a bit too much in one session, I would have lost like a larger portion. So yeah, you can just understand the benefits there. I called with my Queen Jack suited in such a huge pot. It's an excellent multi-way hand. No point in raising though pre-flop. So some guy bets out. I've got third nut flush draw and top pair middle kicker. So I'm definitely going to raise here for value and to protect against possible straight draws and stuff like that. I've got the flush now, so I'm just going to bet and raise as much as I can. And hopefully someone else hit a decent hand so they'll pay me off. And this top table here, I checked with my second pair no kicker. I probably should have bet out here in hindsight, because basically the chances that you're ahead here are reasonably high in a three-way pot. I think someone holding a king. The thing that is, there are a lot of draws, so there's a lot of chance for your opponents to bluff you out, and then you can sort of call them down. And if the draws don't get there, in this case, well, they obviously did with this straight draw. But I mean, the draws will pay you off quite often on a flop like this if you only have second pair and stuff like that. So basically, in this bottom table, I won it with my flush. Just wanted to bet and raise as much as I could. Up here, I raised with my king jack, and he calls the flop and then raises the turn, and I'm thinking this is either a king or a queen, so I guess I just want to be calling down here. And it's not like we can fold the river, because I mean, what does that change? I guess if he had ace jack pure bluffing me, then he got there, and he did have a queen, so basically we wanted to minimize our losses from a better hand, and hopefully if he had king 10 or worse, then he would have continued betting and then tried to bluff us out or whatever, and just paid us off basically. Although it would have been a split pot if he held a king because of the ace on the river, so that wasn't so good. I picked up sixes in the big blind. There was one limper, and in situations where you would open raise on that, I mean, sixes, if you look at the one limper chart, that's a raise. So generally from the big blind, that's what I would do. Like, I'd do the same thing as I'd do from if someone had lumped in. So I raised. He called this kind of scary dry flop, which is weird. So I'm just gonna bet fold the turn, I guess. If I was raised here, I'm pretty sure that I'm either against a flush draw or a 9-jack or ace, which kills me. So I wouldn't have continued there if I was raised. I've picked up ace queen offsuit in the top right hand table, so I'm just going to raise it. It's a pretty good flop for me. Got top pair, top kicker. Top pair, top kicker, and a decent backdoor flush draw. Someone donked out, 2 people called. I'm not going to miss an opportunity to raise here, nor am I going to wait for the turn. That would be incorrect. And I'm just going to assume that I'm ahead still, even with this king coming out. He donks again. Why would he have donked in the first place? I mean, it doesn't even make sense. So I basically he bets again on the river. Weird. Okay, he had ace queen as well. So I was just basically playing it way ahead, way behind there. Perhaps with someone who donks quite a lot, you can get more value out of them by raising. But in that case, I was just going to play it safe. So now I guess I make a note on him or something. If you had played against someone like that, his behavior, I think donking is probably the most difficult thing I come into when I play my shorthanded, because usually each sort of type of hand follows a specific pattern. If you have a made hand, you bet and raise. But difficult situations are where you raise and perhaps you didn't hit the flop or turn after the continuation bet, and it makes it difficult to play because you've no idea where you're ahead or where you're behind. So I generally like to make a lot of notes about my opponents, especially when they make moves like donk bets and stuff like that. These tables, top left and bottom right, are pretty much finished, so I'm going to find some new ones for you. But as I was saying before about one of the main changes is the bankroll when you move to shorthanded. Also, I believe the method of learning is best for shorthanded would definitely be the hand posting, because a lot of it is feel mainly, because you're not playing according to a strategy that says bet and raise only with top pair or a strong draw, which is what you say in beginner's basic section, to simplify it down, to make it easier to make these decisions and avoid the marginal ones. But in shorthanded, it's all about the opponent and generally what you've seen them doing in the past and how well they disguise their play. So basically, if you post your hands in the forum, you can get like some really good opinions of how to just improve your moves in different situations, and it's something I definitely recommend to you as the main thing for shorthanded. I didn't even sort of start getting to the feel of shorthanded until about 20,000 hands or more, but now I've sort of got a good idea of like how to play. In this situation, I believe I bet the flop out of position, unraised pot, which is standard. Then I'm going to give up here. Here I raised and I'm donked into on the flop. It's another one of those interesting situations. Here I hold one overcard and a backdoor flush draw, and I've also got overcards to 2 of the board's cards. So I find this situation, it might be a bit, some people might say it's loose, but I think it's a bit too weak to fold in that situation when you've got probably like quite decent equity. But then he bets again the turn, the 8 pairs, now the second pair's against me. I just don't really know whether I can sort of continue there without some reads that he completely donks with air like quite often. Here I raise from the bottom standardly. 2 people were on the pot. I'm hopefully just going to steal the pot right here and now. I hit third pair on the turn, which puts me in slightly better stead and sort of, in my opinion, allows me to just check. I wanted to check call the river, that was my plan. Though maybe a second barrel would have been better. But he did hit his running straight draw, which is unfortunate. Raising with ace 10. Standard got a gut shot and a backdoor flush draw, which isn't too strong. He donks into me. Oh my! The amount of donks at the lower limit increases, I think. I remember how frustrating it was. It doesn't happen as much as my limit anymore, but so basically what I do is I raise to get this guy out of the pot, and if this guy had 3-bet me, then I would just play according to odds and outs, but sometimes I just try to raise, sort of probe whether their donk means something or not. So I want to decide, I'm just going to check behind and see what he does on the river. And okay, he donks the second pair, so I probably would have called a river bet as well. I just wanted to see what they, like, sort of, how they operate. So basically I would note him with donk second pair on flop. I mean, it's really that simple. And if you see him doing something else in another situation, you add that as well, and then you can sort of get a clear picture of what they do in each situation. So I think it's very important. King 3 getting free play. It's such a huge pot, I can't afford to check. However, the guy before me bets, so basically I can't do anything but raise here. There's quite a few draws out there. On the bottom left hand table, in the meantime, actually we'll deal with this first. So I can't call here because I just really can't let those draws have it cheap. I'd raise every single time in this position. I mean, there's no point in waiting till the turn to get more money, because if sort of the Queen of Hearts had come out, I would have been really unsure as to where I was ahead. And because I was raised on the turn, I mean, I can't do anything but call down. Fold's definitely too weak against anyone but someone with a like 0 aggression factor. And he hit his 2p on the turn. But then again, I was behind anyway, so it's okay. If we just go back to this hand in the bottom left hand corner, we'll just wait for a sec. Basically we hit top pair with an open-ended straight draw, so I'm definitely going to be betting out here, and basically it's a strong enough hand to keep betting with. Now this jack is pretty much a blank. I mean, the only thing that got there would have been 7, would have been like, I don't know, Queen 10 or something like that, in terms of straights and stuff. And the 6, in my opinion, doesn't change much either, except for the bottom pair now, I guess, beats me. So I'm going to bet and call a river raise, but he did have a better 9, which is kind of odd. I thought he would have raised that such a draw-heavy board with top pair, top kicker. But, you know, you learn something new every day. Here, I had Queen 9 suited. In this situation, you're not getting amazing odds, but if I had Queen 10 suited or Queen Jack, I might have called, because it's a decent multi-way hand, and I'm pretty sure that this guy is pretty loose, and of course the person who limp is probably going to call as well. So yeah, things like good multi-way hands like Jack 10, Queen 10, Queen Jack, I like to play in that kind of situation. Ace 10, I just won it on the flop, which is good. Make a standard raise in the bottom left hand table, and he just calls. Now, I'm not sure whether with it completes a lot of draws, so the only hands that would make sense on the flop were sort of completed on the turn. So I think that makes it sort of less of a good place to second barrel. And also the river made it so any 9 beat me, so it sort of makes an even easier decision. It's not like I was going to call the river in any case. I raise aces. And this is a pretty draw heavy flop, so I'm going to be bet through betting. And if capped, I might even, oh no, maybe it will be a bit overplayed to raise the turn as well, if capped, but I'm definitely going to call down to a river turn bet, even though second pair and the flush draw got there. Anything else would be too weak. On the bottom fin table here, I've been dealt jacks, It's a good hand. According to the silver chart, this is a cap and shorthanded. It's a really quite a nice hand. Overcards, we're gonna bet 3-bet. Because don't want to let any draws draw out on us for cheap. And unfortunately this folds. Oh well. A6 here is a raise after one limper. Hopefully they're attempting to isolate this blue 2S guy and getting him to fold the flop, but now we've got a really ugly, really ugly flop here. And he donks out. Well, if there's ever a situation when I don't want to play against a donk bet, it's this one. It's just gross. I only have one overcard. Flush is possible, not too likely, and this open-ended straight draw means he has tons of outs against us if we are ahead. So just due to the fact that it's difficult that we're ahead, I mean, it's just not worth going through the hassle in that kind of situation. I just called pre-flop with my queen jack and not really getting hugely great odds to draw for my overcard outs. I limped here with jack-8 suited after 2 callers. I believe it's a decent enough hand to do so. Getting 1 to 1, 2, 3, 3.5, but this guy did end up raising, which is unfortunate. I got a gut shot on the flop, so I called for that reason. And basically, if given the chance to get a free card, I'll gladly take it with my gut shot. A 9 would have been amazing, especially if they were holding something like pocket 9s, and they both had ace jack, which is interesting. We all had jacks. Jack 10's also a nice hand, and I accidentally misclicked and raised him here. As you know, that would have been a fold after the MP3 raiser, and I basically flopped nothing, so I'll just give up there straight away. I got dealt ace king. I raised it, was 3-bet, and there was a caller. I'm a cap for value, and this guy who's just called the whole time is stuck in the hand, which is good for us. They both check, so I'll make my normal continuation bet. Hopefully shake this guy off an ace high hand, or something like that. And now I've got my top hip top clicker, which is what I was looking for. Also got odds for a gut shot if I'm somehow behind, which is good. And just gonna bet and call if raised, and just hope that I'm ahead and he hasn't hit some miracle 2-pair. This is the sort of the general way you'll be playing a lot of your hands. Top hip top clicker. Another mechanism in improving myself I found was vital for shorthanded. As I was saying before about the fact that posting hands is really great because it gets the professional perspective about those marginal situations is the videos, because, well, the videos are basically the players putting into practice those sort of like theoretical ideas and strategies, and you get to hear their thought process as they talk about what they have and stuff. So I definitely recommend you watch as many as you can. Just take them all up, and just try and learn as much as you can from them. Or even if you sort of disagree with how the person in the videos played the hand, like post in the forums and stuff, because I mean you can only gain from that. Getting them to talk about sort of what, like their reasoning behind it, even if you didn't understand the video, get them to talk more in depth about it. I've got ace 5 suited, I raised, I've got top pair. It's always good to have in a blind battle. Just going to keep betting until raised, and then call down. I mean, it'll be far too weak to fold. Interesting. Any 8 or 9 would have been nice, which is kind of fortunately it wasn't holding second or third pair on the flop. So I've been dealt ace-jack offsuit on the big blind against a button raiser. Standard free bet, and I was capped. I'm holding overcards in a backdoor flush draw to the nuts. So that's enough to call the flop for sure. I was deciding between a check raise or a bet, but however, even though the ace is a good card for him to bluff, some passive players, especially, this is sort of the first limit of shorthanded, so it's pretty low. He might get afraid on the ace if he's holding another kind of hand, like a pocket pair, and then we'll check behind and we'll lose a bet from that, whereas he might have called if we had donked out. That was my reason for donking out. And he just folds the river, so happy ending. Although he did cap it, which is quite interesting. Maybe he was holding a hand such as tens or jacks or something like that. I can't really tell for sure. Okay, got ace 10 suited after 2 limpers. Gonna raise standardly. And this ends up being 5-handed, and we've got top pair. So we're just gonna bet and raise. If there was a bet and a raise before us, we would 3-bet. We really just want to make the draws pay. I mean, 3, 2, 10, and 2 of the suited. I mean, there's so many draws out there. No use in waiting till the turn, especially with a donk bet out here. So we raised, and we got this. Somebody called 2 bets, which looks scarily like a draw. He's from France. I'm not sure what that means in terms of reads though. Then he folds the turn. And we're going to bet and call a raise here. The only reasonable hand that bet us would be, I don't know, some random queen mixed with another pair. So you can't really be, I don't know, checking the river in that situation. Even though you've only got second pair. Definitely not at short-handed. You just lose way too much value in the long run. Though you can make, I think, good folds against some really passive players if you've got a lot of hands on them. Not even going to try playing for this pot in the top right hand table. That reason that they're quite easy to play. Oh yeah, a limper, and I raced him with my Jack 10 suited, which is quite standard I believe. And then he raised my flop bet. So the draws are insane. However, I don't even have a hand with showdown value, so I have to play it according to odds and outs really. Unless I have reads on that he's doing it with his hands and he gives up quite easily. If I showed him resistance on the turn, maybe would be the only situation where I would, even though it would be risky, the only situation where I would like try and play back at him, I guess. On this top left hand table, I stole with 3s, and I'm playing bet fold on the flop. I mean, there's no other way you can play it. It's another low pocket pair, kind of easy to play. The difficulty comes when if you have 9s or something, and there's 1 or 2 overcards to your 9s, and there's a good chance you're ahead, but also a reasonable chance you're behind as well. That's when it starts getting a little bit ugly. I'm just going to play for another minute or so, and then I'll be done. So I hope that you've learned something from this video today. Basically, post those hands, watch the videos, and attend the coachings. I recently started doing some fixed limit beginner coachings. If you want to come tune in, you learn quite a lot there, and you can ask questions about me, my hands, and my play on the fly, which is good. And there's also other fixed limit coachings that are going on during the week, so just check the coachings tab when you can. and basically make yourself known, ask questions. Nothing's a stupid question really, and it's all in the name of improving and winning money off the fish, which is what everyone wants to do. So hopefully I'll see you in a coaching or something, and if you have any questions about the video, just post on the forums or whatever. Thanks for listening. This is Terrorblade signing out for PokerStrategy.com. Bye bye.